So I will share my screen. Thanks you everyone to be here. Today we will speak and share about Datacapt. So let me share my screen.
We will have a global presentation of 30 minutes with a short introduction to Datacapt platform, and after that we're going to move and jump into the platform. And at the end, you will have the time to have questions, and feel free to ask your question, and we'll answer at the end of the presentation.
And you have a small tool in Zoom in order to send your requests. So yeah. If you have any issue, please just put it in the chat, and we'll check that very quickly. Okay, it's fine. Do you see the
yeah,
screen?
We see your screen. Yes,
awesome.
We can start. Thanks.
So with Datacapt, we invite you to join a new testing experience for the cosmetics industry. So we'll present ourselves very quickly. I will start. So I'm Florentin Ori. I'm the CEO and the founder. I founded the company 7 years ago already.
Yeah, and I'm Khalil. I'm international clinical partnership. I have more than 15 years experience in CRO, in cosmetic, but not only, but also in medical device like filler, etc. But I had also an experience within cosmetic manufacturers too.
So in order to give you some key facts on Datacapt, this is a software, of course. We'll give you some details about that, but with Datacapt, we helped our customers to conduct more than 12,000 studies in more than 50 labs around 30 countries, and it represents around 850,000 panelist subjects nowadays. Today, and of course, we are in a regulated environments, and we provide a lot of certificates. Some of them maybe you already know them, but we are compliant with the 21 CFR Part 11. This is something very important. It's an American regulation, but it's worldwide. It's known worldwide. The platform is also compliant with the GCP. The GCP is the Good Clinical Practices. And of course, we only provide services that are compliant with ISO 27001. And also for the French customers or even Europe customers, we have the HDS. This is for the health data hosting. So we already have a lot of customers in the cosmetic consumer fields. For example, some CROs, Eurofins Group, SGS Group, CIDP, also PhD in Portugal, Zurco in Spain, Complife in different countries, mostly in Europe. Validated claim support in USA, SGS it's in France and USA also. And then we also worked a lot with sponsors directly for their internal testing or when they externalize their study. So of course, we do not perform any study, but we help them to perform their study through Datacapt. So for example, well-known company like L'Oréal, Pierre Fabre, Coty, Beiersdorf, and so on. So there is a problem today without Datacapt. This is the way the studies are run. Most of the time, your teams are juggling between 6 to 10 disconnected tools. This is an analysis that we did, and this is an issue because you have fragmented data across disconnected sources. For example, your team will use a spreadsheet, so Excel, paper records, email threads, sometimes WhatsApp groups, depending on the countries, scheduling tools, payment tracker. It can be done on Excel or just paper. We are also, in the cosmetic industry, collecting a lot of pictures. It's, very tricky because it's pictures. And we saw that sometimes it's managed really manually. So you have folders on personal devices. You have to rename the pictures and so on. And then we also saw a lot of legacy systems that are not compliant with the regulated environments. And the thing is, most of the time, the staff required to manually re-enter data for the final report. So it's taking a lot of time, and they are juggling between a lot of disconnected tools. What's the real cost of that? The cost is you put your timeline, your quality, and your compliance at risk. So based again on your analysis, on our analysis, it represents around 35%, of time spent on the re-entry of data, copy pasting, chasing data, files, and so on. It represents 3 more time errors. So when you have disconnected tools, you are duplicating data, you are wasting time in order to aggregate data and chasing the errors. There is also a big point on the compliance and with the data privacy, because, for example, with the consent or with the personal identifiable information, they are across mailboxes, drives, personal devices, and it's not secure at all. And the problem is at the end, it's very slow. So we all have, the same question is when I will get the reports. This is question that you can get internally, or even when you are in a CRO or you are working and externalizing the study in a CRO. And this is the problem of disconnected tool. We have some example to give you. So, for example, you want to find 40 women ages from 40 to 55 with sensitive skin. Most of the time without Datacapt or legacy system and so on, we see, as mentioned, disconnected tools. They will spend a lot of time to recruit calls, putting data in spreadsheets or any, drives or whatever, using Google Form. When you use Google Form or this type of solution, you are not the proprietor of the data. So data is going anywhere, everywhere. And it means that you are spending a lot of time in order to, for example, check the data in volunteer databases that are in multiple Excel files. Payment and indemnization are tracked manually. You have also some I would say difficulties with the no-shows, with all the calendar and scheduling. So this is the reality when there is disconnected tools or legacy system that are used in order to manage the recruitment. And same when it comes to the data collection and the data that you are collecting during the study. For example, from the last visit to cleaning data, it's around 2 to 6 weeks without any platform. For example, you will end the study on Friday. Report won't be done before next month. The data is collected, but it's not ready at all. There is a lot of issues. We have to rename the pictures, to share data between different teams, and the statisticians are waiting for clean data in order, to do the reports. So this is, all the problems that we saw every day when we are, speaking with some different company in the cosmetic industry that are not using Datacapt.
Yes, thank you, Florentin. And Florentin already shared the problem, the pain that most of the people are facing today on the cosmetic, mostly on the cosmetic field. The solution is Datacapt, because Datacapt is what we call an A to Z platform, meaning it allows you to manage the whole process of the study, meaning from your database, your healthy volunteer database, managing this database, from the recruitment to the collection through a specific study, export the study, managing the payment. It's allow you to have one single platform that allow you to manage the whole process of your study. And that's why it is really amazing. When we try to push Datacapt with some of our customers, the experience was just, yes, it is a game changer for all our team. And to go deeper inside what is included within the platform itself, we have multiple modules, but only one source of truth. meaning no need to install multiple tools to configure things, etc. Everything is already existing within Datacapt, and the idea it is adapted also to the cosmetic markets. You can start from the volunteer database to manage the whole healthy volunteer that you have in your database, recruit people by, for example, create a dedicated landing page, or for example, sending a pre-screening survey, scheduling or the appointment, or giving the possibility to the healthy volunteer to take their own appointment through their participant account, because yes, every single participant have his account with all the tasks, the appointment, the privacy information, etc. But with all of you also to to collect data through a study, for example, with the eCRF, all the data collection, the inclusion criteria, the exclusion criteria, with a high level of quality, because we have multiple checks that allow you to secure your data in terms of quality. You can also send all the ePro, the surveys, the daily log, set up the occurrence, meaning sending the daily log automatically every single day of your study, manage the payment, the whole process of the payment, generate reports, and have a live dashboard with all of you to follow your study or your studies in real time. And of course, you will be able to export your data at any time. And we invite today both of you, meaning the manufacturer, but also the CRO. We know that you have a strong partnership, but Datacapt is a game changer for both. Why it is a game changer for both? Because for the manufacturer, what we call the sponsor, it will allow you to easily manage all your internal study, for example, any R&D or any screening study, and to have a better quality and to do it faster. We know today that internally within the manufacturer, and this is something that I already lived within another manufacturer, you have, I would say, huge pressure from the marketing, and Datacapt will allow you to go faster in terms of internal study, but you will also be able, with the partnership, with your CRO that you are working today with, to push Datacapt in order to gain quality, to have more dashboard, to follow in real time all your study, and also to have all what we need in terms of security and compliance. For the CRO, the same way, I was a customer of Datacapt before joining the company, and I can share with you my experience. The idea here is to optimize all the process and to be able, or to give the opportunity to your teams to be more focused on where they have an add value, and automate everything, and Datacapt will handle everything on your side, from the healthy volunteer database creation to the recruitment for the whole process, and to have, of course, better quality, better security, better compliance, and of course, being a game changer, even for the CRO, even for your customer. This is something that can gain for you more visibility and can be a game changer for your customer. And of course, Datacapt is adapted for the cosmetic study, but you can use it for any type of clinical trial. It can be medical device. I already use it on my side, for example, for filler product, or pharma study, or registry, or observational study. Whatever the study that you need to launch, Datacapt is adapted and have everything in order for you to handle the whole process.
We also wanted to share some real use cases. So, for example, we help Zurco Research, that is a CRO in Spanish, with three sites, in order to digitize the whole study process. So they went from 150 study to more than 500 study thanks to Datacapt. They cut the time by 3, and the setup timeline when they set up, the whole study by 40%. We also worked with PhD Trial in Portugal, and they digitized more than 300 study. So no more paper. They eliminate most of the paper. Now they have automatic sending of the questionnaire, data tracking in real time, reports in order to get a full overview of all their studies running. And they can also, for example, give access to the sponsors. But also, as Rally mentioned, it's very, very powerful and a game changer for the CRO, but also for the sponsors. For example, we worked with Beiersdorf and Eucerin brands in order to perform large-scale global RWE study. RWE study is real-world evidence. It means that we are tracking and evaluating products in hundreds of sites, hundreds of countries, in a real life, not only on a research center. So, for example, we help Biosdorf to scale their RWE study with data collection, with questionnaire survey, randomization, and across 500 sites, more than 5,000 participants, and also, for example, helping them to centralize and standardize clinical images collection. And another example with the well-known Croda Sederma Group. This is a company that is creating active ingredients. So they are completely paperless. They are using, for example, the e-consent in order to allow the participant to be part of the study, no more paper. And then they also collect all the data through Datacapt on site and send ePro questionnaires to complete at home. So everything is digitized. So now we have 10 minutes, around 10 minutes, and we want to show you the platform because this is something that is very, very amazing. If you want to contact us, do not hesitate to contact us at sales@datacapt.com, or you can just check our website. So I will connect to Datacapt platform. This is a 100% cloud platform. It means that there is no installation, nothing to install, and you can connect to the platform. So I will connect to the platform, and I will start with the first part, that is the database. So with Datacapt, you can manage the whole database. So no more paper, no more Excel spreadsheets, and you will sleep well because you are compliant. Everything is based on access and permissions. There is no limit in terms of users, and you can manage the whole database. So, for example, in this database, I have around 7,000 participants. I can build my database as I wish. So I can add all the questions that I want. It's very, very easy with drag and drop. It's in order, to collect all the characteristics of your panelists. And the panelists can register at any time. So, for example, I can take this link. This is the link in order to register. So we put there, for example, the SkinOps logo and colors, and the panelists can then register at any time in order to be in your database. So you can grow your database at any times and being compliant. Let me go back to the database. So in the database, you can search, you can do filters on all the characteristics, and you can also check in real time all the different information for the panelists. For example, Achille. Achille is active. We have all the different information for Achille, all the studies and the recruitment studies that he is part of, all the visits, and the activity. For example, Achille was prospect and enrolled in a study. We change the photo type, for example. So we can say, who changed the photo type? Oh, it's Khalil. Why you changed the photo type? So you have a complete, traceability of the panelist characteristics in the database. With the database, you can also send campaign to the participants. You can manage all the GDPR and HIPAA compliance with data retention, rules, automations, and so on. When you have the database, you want to use this database in order to recruit. So this is where Datacapt also is amazing, because you can create digital recruitment studies where you will set up some information about the study. This is an example there, and you can do a blast or what we call, for example, campaign in order to recruit your participants. So, for example, I have a link like that. It could be a QR code, or it's just a link that you can put on ads. It can be Facebook
social media, whatever,
ads, or even your website. And the panelists can apply at any time through their phone, through their computer, and so on. And then they land directly in the study where you can check in real time who is contacted, who is interested, who answered, for example, to the pre-screening survey. And you can also manage all the scheduling, the planning. They can also self-book if they want. And at the end of the study, you can also manage all the indemnization. This is linked to the calendar. So for example, we have there the whole calendar with all the visits. So you have a global overview of all the visits and also what we call the booking visits, where you know, for example, okay, today, for example, who is coming? Oh, we have Achille that is coming at 8:30. So this is what we call the site CTMS, the recruitment part. And then when the recruitment is done, you have to start the study. So this is where also Datacapt is very, very powerful, because you can build your study and your forms in order to collect the data. So for example, you will build the forms like that very, very easily. And then you have the list of all the participants inside this specific study and their progress. You can collect everything. It can be instrumental measurement, eligibility criteria, medical history, adverse event, serious adverse event, if you have any. Can be, all the data that you have to collect during a study, and you get rid of paper, you get rid of Excel spreadsheets. Everything is digitized, standardized, and centralize in Datacapt. Datacapt is the backbone for the data and for your studies. So you can manage, as mentioned, the data and the collection of the data on site. But you can also create forms, questionnaire survey, and send the questionnaires and the survey to participants. And so they get access to the survey, for example. It can be, for example, on a computer, but it can be also directly on a phone. So it's 100% responsive. And of course, sign the consent before the starting of the study, having access to some reports in order to get overview on different, data collections, and everything is on the same tool. So just to summarize, you have your database with all the panelists. They also have a participant account where they can put an avatar in order to engage them. They have their visits, they have their study information. They also can manage their personal informations. So you really create, an experience for your panelists, but also for your internal teams, in order to gain in efficiency, in quality, being compliant, and then get the report faster. Rally, do you want to add something?
No, I think we have everything here, meaning, and it's remain flexible, meaning if you want for one single project only use the eCRF because you only need an eCRF, it's possible. If you have daily log or any survey that need to be sent, you can also use ePro. It's remain very flexible and adapt to the type of the study that you want to run.
For example, here it's a consent where we sign using electronic signature before the starting of the study. So you have a global overview for everything.
One thing that's really important when you build your study, for example, when you build your eCRF, your ePro, you can register it in template and reuse it at any time for any single use test. For example, we know that the use tests are more or less the same between the study, and no need to create again for a new study. You need only to register it in the template and reuse it at any time. And meaning creating your eCRF for your next study will take at least few minutes, in fact.
And again, that's a game changer, because you will not have disconnected tools anymore. You can get rid also of internal legacy system that sometimes are not compliant anymore. And Datacapt is a software that is evolving every month. We have new features very, very often, quickly, and everything is digitized. Do we have any questions?
I don't see here now any question on my side. Samia, you asked a question about if you will be able to have the presentation. Yeah, of course. This is recorded, and we will send you the record with the presentation, of course, at the end of the webinar. Maybe one other two interesting point within the platform is the ability to translate your forms on more than 85 languages, which allow you to have multi-site or multi-centric, or we have multiple labs all around Europe or US, whatever, where it is, you will be able to translate. This is an important point. Another point, which is really important, every single user within the platform will have, I would say, roles and permission. Meaning, if you are a project manager or clinical trial technician, you will have a dedicated role with dedicated permission. And here, in terms of, I would say, data privacy, you will be able to manage all of this with the dedicated access for every single user of the platform. And this is a, I would say, huge push regarding to data privacy and mostly to GDPR.
Maybe also one point that is not existing, when you are using paper or Excel or even sometimes legacy system, it's the audit trail. That's very, very important. For example, if you are a CRO, you can, thanks to Datacapt, have a full traceability of the data that is entered inside the study, who collected the data, if the data is changed. So that's the full traceability. And it's very, very powerful, for example, for the regulation, because you can't lie. The data can't lie.
Yeah, I have another question from Leah. For the result of the study, we should enter it manually, or is there a direct link with a different type of software?
We have what we call API. So it means it's like a connection between software. It's a good question because we will also release an API guide in the upcoming weeks. For example, we are already connected with all the Courage and Kasaka measurement probes. So it means that, for example, you can automatically connect the CNK probes and get the data on Datacapt. We can also, if you want, connect some internal tools that you have using API. It can be, for example, again, measurements, pictures, or any other data in order, to not collect all the data manually. Most of the data are collected manually with the investigator, technicians, and so on. So, for example, they just collect everything like that. All the data are saved in real time. But of course, if there is any system that are allowed to connect to Datacapt with the API, this is something that is 100% possible.
Yeah, I see that you have another question. Could you please repeat about the consent signed through Datacapt?
Yeah, sure. We have two types of consent. The first consent is when the participants register to the database. This is what we call an opt-in, because when a participant want to register to your database, for the GDPR compliance, you have to tell them, for example, how we will save your data, how we will process your data, what's the retention time, and so on. And we have all the compliance settings there in order to automate this. So you will not have a nightmare anymore about any authority audits or any issue with data privacy. So everything is automated in Datacapt. When the participants register to the database, for example, we have there Achille, and we know that Achille consent on June 3rd in 2025. So this is the first consent on the database level. But when you start a study, the participants have to sign a consent. So you can create a digital consent in Datacapt. So for example, this one with text. So it's like, a Word document, but this is directly on Datacapt. And then you can digitally send this consent by email, SMS, or no invite because they are on site, for example. And if they are on site, you can do in-person signature. And this is a complete e-consent process that is 100% digitized in order to improve the compliance. So no more, for example, issue on the first name, last name, or the date. And it's also an opportunity to give more details and have a better comprehension of the study. And then at the end of the process, of course, Datacapt is generating a PDF, and this PDF is electronically signed. It could be a 21 CFR Part 11 compliant signature, or what we call a EDAS signature. EDAS signature is, for example, like a DocuSign or USign. We are using USign in Datacapt. And of course, the panelists have access at any time to these documents in their profile that they can open on their phone.
I have another question from Cindy. Hi guys, is it possible to test the platform, please?
Of course. So if you want to get more information, if you want to test the platform, or if, for example, you want to spend time with us so we can analyze, for example, your current situation, and we can, for example, help you to see how Datacapt can help you in your process, you can, for example, go to our website and request a demo, or you can send us an email at sales@datacapt.com. So we will be more than happy to work with you through this process. But this is 100% possible to test the platform for using Datacapt in your daily process.
I don't see any other question. Maybe something I want to share with whole people is we are actually working on integration of artificial intelligence in study creation, which allow you to create very easily a study, meaning no need to create from A to Z, for example, your eCRF. We try to do it with, for example, a PDF or a Word of your eCRF, and the artificial intelligence will create automatically the whole eCRF. And this is something also for the translation. We added a dedicated agent to help you to translate your eCRF or your ePro, your online survey. For example, if you want to have multi-centric with multiple country involved within a study, this is something that you can use very easily and will be released soon within the platform.
Yeah, the eCRF, for the ones that don't know this acronym, is the case report form. This is the data collection during the study, when for example, the technician is entering all the data. So for example, this is this kind of form where you will collect all the eligibility criteria, the measurements, everything that is in order to do the analysis.
Any other question? I didn't see any other one.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think
there will be anyway a replay on YouTube of this webinar, and please do not hesitate to contact us. We'll be more than happy to spend some time with you to maybe give you more details, more use cases on different customers that we are working with. And yeah, that's
pretty all. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And as Florentin said, we stay tuned. If you need any information, any clarification, demo of the platform, have access to the platform, we are here for that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.